morning.
Good morning, Renee.
Today is truly a special moment for me. I am honored to be sitting here with you, sharing this space and this time to talk about all things related to leadership and faith, and really what makes you such a remarkable leader. You have led with grace, grit, tenacity, and most importantly, resounding faith. You were an educator for over 60 years. You were principal for over 51 years.
Yes.
At Saints Simon and Jude in Phoenix, Arizona. You have dedicated your life to nurturing our community, to nurturing not just academic excellence, but the values of faith, compassion, and most importantly, community to over 4,000 students and families who have passed through the halls of Saint Simon and Jude. You were awarded the Papal Medal last April, and you don't appear to be slowing down a bit. Sister Raphael, welcome. It's an absolute privilege and gift to have you here with me. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Renee.
So, for some of the folks that are listening, they don't know who Sister Raphael is. So, take us back to, in case you've noticed, she has a little bit of an accent. So, take us back to your childhood and growing up in Ireland. Help us understand the story of Sister Raphael from its beginnings.
Okay. Well, I'm always happy to share my story. And of course, I was born in Ireland and raised in a big family, 5 brothers and 2 sisters. And our family was really it was truly a home, okay, where we felt very loved by both of our parents. And but it also was a home where our faith was lived in a very profound way. And my mother especially was a great woman of faith, and it was integrated into her whole day, really. And she was a great example to us of faith wasn't something she just preached or talked about. It was really something that she lived. So I think that whole spirit of compassion and caring for others and really being the best person that we could be was very much part of our upbringing. And life in Ireland when I was growing up was very, very simple. Okay, we had no television, no phones, nothing. It was just that total freedom to be who you were, and just loved being part of the whole community of the town where I was raised, the country. It all impacted me as to be the person that I am today. So all my brothers and sisters, and many of them have, 4 of my brothers have gone into their eternal reward, and my sister, and now I'm the oldest of my family, so there's just 3 of us left. But my nieces and my nephews, they just have such a bond and a feeling for family that is just wonderful for me to see. And they're just such good people and such kind people. And so it shows me the legacy really that our parents gave to us still today.
So you grew up with brothers. What did you do as children? What did you do for fun?
Well, we were very athletic. I mean, sports was faith and family and sports. I'd add on, people would say, you never saw a Quinn, a member of my family, without a football or a golf ball or golf stick or a tennis racket or something in their hand. So sports was very much part of our whole upbringing, So, and the nice thing I remember is I played in high school, I played field hockey and tennis. But, my brothers were just as interested in our success, my sister and I, in our games as we were in theirs. So it was a very respectful kind of, wasn't all the boys are the big deals, They were just so proud when our team won too, and they were there to support us. So I just think back of that, how great that was, And
were you good?
I'm a bit competitive with the sports. I always wanted to win, and I think I brought that into my later years too. Competitive, do your best, but it was great to be part of a team and to have that experience.
Absolutely, and it's grit, right? It's
Absolutely, yeah,
there's things that
yeah,
we learn at an early age when we participate
yeah,
in
yeah.
sports. How do you feel about sports today? Has it changed, and how has it changed?
Well, I think most children love sports, and I think it's very healthy, and I think it really teaches them how to be part of a team, how to win, how to lose. I think all that's very, very valuable. A little bit uh, maybe concerned about the whole competitiveness of it, and children at a very young age being programmed like that you're going to be, excel in this. They may or they may not, but sometimes I think there's maybe too much pressure from
Mm.
both parents and a lot of the organizations today that they do a great job in promoting the skills, but other things are important too.
What do you think about the club sports, right? There seems to be this, and I don't have children, so I'm watching from the sidelines, but there are a lot of really competitive clubs that consumes not only the
Yeah,
financial side, but also time that families invest in that, which, if you're a talented kid, that's a good thing. But if you're a disadvantaged, especially financially disadvantaged, those opportunities
hmm,
don't happen. What are your
yeah.
thoughts about that?
Well, I think it's great what some of these club teams do, and it certainly brings the level of sports in the great schools anyhow to a whole other level. I mean, if you have some club players on your volleyball team, you're probably going to win.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's really important that all children have an opportunity, and so I think that's the value of playing all sports in grade school and just being part of it. Um, I think there has to be a balance. I think sometimes, I wonder how the parents do it sometimes. It's expensive, it's a lot of travel, it's their whole life is committed to it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you have to kind of maybe say there's more to this than just all of this traveling, and is this too much?
For
And
sure.
sometimes the kids get burned out. I know a few students that, like, by the time they came to seniors in high school, they had enough of the volleyball or the
Mm.
softball or whatever. So
Becomes a
it's a
job.
balance you have to
Mm-hmm.
reach within your own family, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
So let's go back to, so you're in Ireland, you're in high school, maybe early teens. Talk to us about your interest or calling, as some might say, to join the convent. What
Mhm.
what did that look like for you?
Well, my family moved from the country to the town when I was about maybe in fifth grade, I think. And so we went to the convent school in our town in Mullingar. And but that was the first time I really ever saw a nun. I never saw a nun where I lived before, so it was a whole new experience for me. And uh, but I think I was, because of my family background and my family upbringing, I was always interested in helping others and being there for others. And so, in our schools, both in the elementary school and high school, we were exposed to different communities of sisters that would come from uh, lower income countries, like from Africa or uh, Latin America, and they would come and tell their stories to us. And we were thrilled, first of all, because it meant you got out of class to
Of
hear their
course.
stories. But I think also it inspired us to think
Mm-hmm.
beyond our own little comfort area in our hometown, and just to bring us into the world of what it was like. And so at an early age, I really began to feel this desire to give my life to God, but I had no idea where or when or how. And so I developed my own prayer life. So I would, after school, I would spend some time in the church praying. And in our town, we had this organization called the Legion of Mary, and that was for young people as well as the adults. And I remember my sister and we joined that, and it gave us a wonderful opportunity to combine our prayer with our apostolic action, it was called. We were following in the footsteps of the apostles by reaching out and serving others.
Hmm.
And you did that a couple of hours every week. And so you got a feel for visiting people in their homes or going to the nursing homes and singing and dancing for the patients there, and or delivering the Catholic papers to the homes. It was just another experience, I think. And then, when I was a senior in high school, I remember we were having a hockey game, and one of the Loretta sisters, Sister Bernadette, said to me, "What are you going to do, when you graduate?" And I said, "Well, I'm thinking of being a nun." And she was the first person I ever shared that with. And her response, she said, "Well, I don't know if you've made a decision about what religious community you're going to join." And I wasn't even sure. And she said, "But I want you to know you'll be very welcome here." And I think that was just a very big moment of grace for me, because I was very shy, and it's a big step at 18 years of age to just give up everything and to enter religious
For
life.
sure.
And but I must say, in high school particularly, I was impressed by the nuns, and they radiated joy in what they were doing. And so I felt, well, they are joyful.
I want some
And
of what they're having.
Yeah, exactly. I want to share in that, and so that was it. So right after high school, I entered the convent in Navan, in County Meath in Ireland, and
I've
then
been there.
during that time in high school, our nuns were invited actually in 1954, and they were invited to go to Arizona to start the school at Saints Simon and Jude. And so in our high school in Mullingar, every morning we prayed. And so I was a student at that time, and we prayed every morning for the nuns, 5 of them that left Ireland, the nuns on mission in Arizona. And so that became part of our daily prayer. And so it was just, you were connected to some place you never thought you would be.
Wow.
So it was like that whole idea of mission and being sent. And so it was the invitation of the priest, the parish priest here at Saint Simon and Jude, Father Paul Smith, who invited our nuns to go to Saint Simon and Jude.
Were you part of that 5 then?
No.
Okay.
I wasn't. I came later. They came in 1954, and I came in 1963 as a young nun.
So you didn't have the internet and text messaging
Oh,
and all
no.
the technology. How did you have any idea how they were assimilating into the life here in Arizona? Like, was there any contact or any idea of what the
Well, I think for all
experience-
of our sisters, their contact was different, but I kept in contact with Sister Anna, who taught me in Mullingar, and she was already here. She didn't come in 54, she came later. So she would just write letters. You received a letter and you'd write back, and that was it. So, yeah.
So then you were eventually asked to come join?
Yeah, in my heart, I prayed that maybe one day I would be sent to Arizona, and then that's what happened. I was sent to come and teach 2nd grade. And I was, of course, scared, very insecure about what I was doing, and kind of shy and awkward, and you had to come and face a new culture, and I didn't know the sisters in the community either. It was all new.
Yes.
Yeah, so it was
so scary, but
yeah,
so beautiful.
yeah.
And to think where you ended up, it just goes to show sometimes.
2nd grade.
Yes. So
Yeah.
2nd grade, and then what was the journey to before you became?
2nd grade, I was very happy in 2nd grade. I loved the kids. They loved me. They thought I was really cool, and I played all the sports with them.
You are really cool.
Taught them how to play soccer, and how it was. I was so young and energetic, but I felt in my heart I had a great passion for teaching, and it was a gift that I had received that I could really teach. And so I was asked then to teach 5th grade, and I was loved 5th grade, and then I was asked to teach 7th grade. And after teaching 7th grade, I think for 1 or 2 years, I was asked to become principal, which was something I never dreamed of, never planned on. But, we had a vow of obedience. So whatever you were asked to do, you said yes to that, and you trusted that God would lead you through that experience. And that's exactly what happened. I did the best I could. I used my teaching skills and became, the principal. And my 7th grade class that I taught became my first 8th graders as principal, and they were so good to me. They were very, very good to me as 8th graders.
If you could go back and talk to that young Sister Raphael as she's becoming principal, what would you say to her?
Oh, I don't know. I felt a little bit scared, I have to say, but I was determined to do the best I could, and so I started going back to school and getting a master's degree in educational administration and going to as many conferences as I could and learning on the job, really, you know. And then, of course, the diocese had a big, you know, network that you connected with other principals. And so I grew a lot in that, and I learned a lot, and I learned from the students. I was always very conscious that, you know, it was our school. It was, you know, the parents and the students and the teachers, and we were all so, you know, this was our mission, you know, to serve the students of Saints Simon and Jude parish. And I remember your grandmother, you know, Norma Fritton, who taught kindergarten for so many years. She was a great inspiration to me. And I think as the nuns came, other sisters came, and so the school grew, and so we had more lay teachers join our staff. And I was absolutely thrilled to pass on, you know, our charism of the Loretto sisters onto our lay faculty, and so that we remained faithful to what our schools were about and passionate about it. And so a person like Norma and your mom, Betty Ann, they were people who embraced our mission and became wonderful. We were partners, we were companions doing all of this together. There was a great spirit among the early days of the faculty and all the nuns. We had great camaraderie.
Yes, no, I witnessed it. So for folks listening, my grandmother, Norma Fritton, taught kindergarten, and my mother, Betty Ann, whose last name is now Moreno, taught third grade. For many, many years. Grandma was there for 60-some years, and Mom was there and then moved into the library for quite some time. Both significant women and mentors and, you know, inspiring leaders in their own right. For me personally, who would you say is your inspiration? Is there a female leader or female individual that has inspired you?
Well, some of my teachers, I think, you know, you always go back maybe to your favorite teacher, but also in college, some of my professors, you know, I remember one of my professors at ASU, I think it was a educational psychology class, but he was so passionate about concern for every person that he really inspired me, you know. This is the gift that we can be as teachers and as administrators, the number of lives that you can touch. And I think he made me realize you never know how many lives you really touch. It's just, you know, you bring that spirit of compassion and love and care for each child into the classroom, into the school, and the school becomes a community of caring and service to others. And I think that it was one thing that made our school kind of stand out, is that from the earliest of days, we really concentrated on having the children and the faculty share in that outreach to others and to be always going beyond ourselves and not just sharing what we have, you know. I think that was a valuable lesson that we shared with the kids.
Oh, for sure. So I want to, you know, many people are obviously mourning the loss of Pope Francis. And, you know, I would say he's probably one of the most transformative spiritual leaders, popes of our time. He stood for things that no matter what your religious belief is, you can get behind. If the core of who you are is a good human. He stood for women. He stood for social justice, environmental rights.
Absolutely, yeah.
What was significant for you about this Pope?
Well, I think a big thing about Pope Francis is that he was a Jesuit. He was a Jesuit priest. And the Jesuit order, I think, are very, you know, committed to social justice issues and a life of prayer. I mean, he was a deeply spiritual man. And, you know, the Jesuits in their spirituality, because we live by their spirituality also. St. Ignatius talked about the Magus, giving the more. I mean, you can do a great amount, but you're called to do more. And I think that's what Francis did as Pope. He gave it everything he had. And, you know, so he reached out beyond the walls of the Vatican. He lived like a simple life. He could have had everything he needed as Pope, but it was like, just I'm happy with this. And his ordinary way of life, I think, touched the lives of not just Catholics, but people of all religions. So I think he's had a great impact on the church. And it's really being called to what he lived, what Jesus called us to do, to walk with the people that need us the most, the poor and, the invalids, and everything he did it in a very humble way. It wasn't because, oh, I'm Pope and I should be doing this. I'm doing this because this is who he was at the core of his being, and so I think his impact will be felt. I think it's, a lot of people lined up to see his body, but the crowds of people lining up to visit his tomb now, it's just very inspiring.
Oh, for sure. And, I think for just the church itself, the Catholic Church, right?
Yes.
He really created a not so traditional, right?
Yes.
There was more of a progressive approach.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel and hope that will continue on, especially when you think about young women and men coming into the vocation of being a future nun or a priest? Like, how can you continue? How do you see that legacy continuing?
Well, I hope it will, because I think, I suppose there's always people who, won't agree with everything. And as Pope, there were certain traditions that are, kind of embedded in our faith. But like, for me personally, like whoever is Pope, as a Catholic person, as a Catholic nun, he's Christ's representative for us on earth. And that's who we obey, and that's who we, just feel is leading our church. And I trust in the Holy Spirit and in the cardinals who are gathering together, that somebody will continue on Francis's legacy, for us. And in our house too, I mean, we always had a picture of the Pope. That's what I grew up with too. So the Pope is part of your life. He wasn't somebody just in Rome. So
well, and I remember when Pope John Paul came to Saints Simon and Jude in 1987, and I was in high school. I must have volunteered that day because I remember we had to wear a certain outfit. It was like a white skirt with the yellow sweater, but and he was going by in the Pope mobile, so I didn't have the opportunity to shake his hand. But you really are in awe, and I don't care. I mean, you could be a Catholic, you can be in high school, you could be 87 years old. I mean, it really is a spiritual figure that, regardless of your faith, your spiritual beliefs, I mean, you look with such awe of this individual that has so much power to influence. Right?
It's amazing. It's amazing the connection that there is with the Pope today. It's just unbelievable, really. And you're so proud to be Catholic, really.
Yes.
And
what a gift to anyone that had the opportunity to meet him. But I think about the people that were there on Easter Sunday. And just to forever hold on to that memory and that feeling, and just carrying your life through that connection to God, connection to faith.
And hopefully continue what he lived himself as Pope.
Shifting gears a little bit. So, with the headlines and the fear of recession and, all the things, I think a lot right now, especially for me personally. I left my corporate career last year. And really hoping to seek something more meaningful. I feel like I've been blessed in many ways, and I wanted to at least live out the next half century of my life with purpose and meaning in what I do. Part of that is, I've had to cut back on, I don't have a corporate paycheck any longer. And so you think differently. And when I think about, the looming fears of recession, I mean, the reality is, Americans consume, and we are so attached to material possessions. I want to know, part of one of your vows is a vow of poverty. What are your thoughts about where we are as a society, the collective of America, and the world for that matter, with our attachment to things? I mean, I would say you're one of the richest people I know, and yet we still have this need for stuff to make us feel rich, better, how people see us. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, it's a very good question, and it's something I think that we have to reflect on, really, because all of us, even religious, you can get very caught up in things that are like so convenient and so enticing and so attractive, and I mean, it's a constant thing with the students today. They're so like connected, like to the internet and all of that, and we're into a world that's the future. But like, I think we're connected and we're not connected, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I think, we're less connected in families. We as nuns have to be very particular that we're constantly connected to our Lord in prayer,
Mm-hmm.
and that mission that we took on as young nuns or now older nuns continues. So I think it pains me a lot when I see like we go through so much material. Personally, I don't have much regard for material things, so it's not like a great sacrifice for me, but I see it around me. And I try to think the kids don't need all this stuff, and to simplify our lives and to go back to what is absolutely essential. And that is family life,
Mm-hmm.
to spend time with families. And I think, our struggles today in our world, a lot of it is there's tension in families today, there's brokenness. And when we're there for each other, it renews us. That's what I feel when we take the time to listen to each other, listen to each other's pain,
Mm-hmm.
and to be there for that person in their pain. I mean, I'm really kind of struck at the number of people will come back now and say, oh, I remember when you did this for me, or I remember when you did. I don't remember, but it was part of just what you did,
Mm-hmm.
I remember when you came and was there when my father was dying or whatever. And it's little things that like make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think Americans, but I don't think it's Americans. I think it's all over the world. I think we're all going to have to suffer a little bit, and I don't think that's necessarily bad. I think it might be good when we have to suffer and when we have to realize, yes, I can do without this. I have to sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
And I always believed that's something that with young children that we can really teach them. Not that you want to inflict suffering on children, but they do have to suffer when they're disappointed about suffering something, or they don't get what they want, or whatever it is, or they have to wait your turn, or whatever it is. That's all little disappointments for children that they learn, but they learn that beautiful virtue of being able to wait, patience, compassion, you know. So I think it is a time of kind of uncertainty for us, and there's a certain thing about uncertainty that makes us look at ourselves, what's really of value to us. And we're actually seeing at the moment more people coming back to church. And I don't think that's just with the Catholic Church. I think this is all faiths. And to me, that is the root thing, we never missed Mass on Sunday as children. And we walked 2.5 miles to Mass, That was part of your Sunday. That's how you started your Sunday. But like today now, it's just so much distraction. But I think we are finding people coming back. And I think Pope Francis will have an impact on that. I think he will, his example, and all the lives that he has touched, whether you're in India or wherever, he has touched people. Yeah.
For sure. I mean, I know for me personally, just, really seeking that divine purpose, or why am I here, right?
Yeah.
It can't be just to go to work and collect a paycheck. There's a little bit more to life.
I think that's a very key thing, if we could all reflect on God's individual plan for you and saying yes to God's will. I mean, for me, it was to become a nun, and that's your journey. But for you, it's now your journey, And that is so to embrace God's plan for you and to just live it as best we can. I think that's a great grace, and a grace we should really pray for people. And I think it brings just such peace about it, because I think a lot of people today are angry, and then your family becomes angrier, and your children learn how to be angry,
Right.
It's passed on, just
Sure.
like goodness is passed on,
Yes.
It has that negative effect,
Yes.
And any opportunity I have with children, when they say something that's negative and they say it in a negative way, I say, how can we say that in a kinder way, It's okay to tell a student that they have hurt your feelings, but you don't have to say, you're so stupid. You can say, my feelings were really hurt when you did this or when you said this. There's a way we can say it, a kinder way. So I'm all for promoting that, our language, to be kinder, to be, yeah.
We need everyone to hear the words of Sister Raphael.
Yeah.
So, and I agree wholeheartedly, and I love for me personally, and I'm surrounded by beautiful women that I have been very blessed with an amazing group of girlfriends, my sisterhood.
Yes.
But I feel like part of this is being middle-aged, where you just kind of stop for a moment. And when I think about the people that haven't had that point in time, or they haven't arrived there, and maybe some people never do, but you either have a defining moment that defines it for you, or you have a desire to maybe change. And I think people have the desire, but they think they don't have the time, or they don't know where to start. If somebody truly wants to stop the noise, right? Kids going to college, I have to work, I have this board meeting, all the things, but yet they have the desire to get a little more spiritual or a little more grounded. Whether they have Catholicism or faith, where do you start? Where does someone start?
Well, I just think they have to do something about it. You have to eliminate something from your schedule, maybe. And even quiet time is a good thing to start. Just take 20 minutes and it does make a difference. When we go on retreat with the kids, we don't have them have anything outside noises, and the kids love it. They say, can we stay here for another day? Can we, so they're yearning for that. And I think a big thing that you've said is that desire. If you desire to have that,
you'll find a way.
That's the first step.
Yes.
That's the first step.
Yes.
If you don't have the desire, it's probably never going to happen. But if you have the desire, and somebody like yourself, you can give so much in volunteering, and again, that's doing, but you need to take time for yourself. And that's something I have to do. I'm supposed to be retired, but I'm really not. I find lots of things to do. So how do you take that time? And I think that we spent some more time in prayer during the COVID time. That's what we did as a community, and we've continued to do that, and we find that very, very helpful. So I would just say, try something.
Just start.
And there's lots of ways you can do it today, lots of opportunities. Yeah.
What, the question, what keeps you up at night? I'm fascinated to know what kept you up at night 25 years ago versus maybe what keeps you up at night today. If there's anything, you probably sleep like a saint because you are a saint.
Well, I never was a person that brought my problems or the problems that you would have in the day with me home, but I suppose I had the ideal situation where built into my schedule was time for prayer and that. And so I always was a person that really had a good night's sleep. Sometimes, maybe I didn't, but I never felt, well, this is totally my responsibility. And I think just going back to trusting in God and his, problems everyone has problems, but somehow they get solved. You do the best you can. Sometimes you maybe did not make the right decision. Just embrace that and move on, I believe in a balanced life of, prayer and exercise. As you get older, that gets harder. Exercise and work. I was raised in a family, and even all my brothers and sisters, work was like a gift. To talk about work ethic today, but like to find people that really enjoy their work and want to do it and continue to do it, that's a gift. But it does something to yourself personally, I think, too. A good day's work.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
When you look back, so your work has been serving others and having such words cannot describe the impact that you have had. I mean, I think of 4,000 students. That's 4,000 families. That's moms and dads. I mean, they're just, your level of influence is amazing, but your commitment to academia is amazing. You've talked about just your love of learning, and you feel it. You still have that curiosity. What are you most proud of over 60 years of academia?
Well, I suppose one of the things I'm proud of is that I had the energy to keep going for so long.
Yes.
I mean, that was amazing. I think that was really a gift to me. And I think what I'm most proud of is that I was able to pass on the essentials of our faith to our children. And I'm always, hoping that they'll continue to keep God in their lives. And that to me is the most important thing. And like when I think of our foundress, Mary Ward, who, you know, was a woman of great strength and great freedom. And she really believed that as women, that our responsibility was to take care of the faith. And you know, she wanted to build schools and have schools and all like that, but that was why, you know, so that we would be the people that would continue to pass on the faith, which is for every woman, for every man too. But she, as a woman in England at that time, it wasn't the thing that girls would be educated. They weren't. It was the boys would be sent away to school, but not the girls. So she was a woman that really was ahead of her time. If she gave her message today, it would be as meaningful as it was over 400 years ago. That as women, she said, women in time will do great things. And so as women, and you know, we have a gift that our society needs.
Yes.
And it's that more gentler side and the compassion. I think all of that is so important to teach our children today. So I'm hoping that some of that, you know, is in the lives of, as young people become mothers and fathers, that they'll, you know, pass that on to their children.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So I'm going to lighten it up a little bit. So what's one thing about you that most students probably never knew or wouldn't know?
Well, they used to do trivia in the school, and one of the things the kids didn't know was that I loved hockey, you know. But it's not ice hockey, it was field hockey. But it was, and tennis. Tennis is actually my favorite sport, but I don't know really. We just shared little bits about your, just I suppose my love for sports.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
What they wouldn't know is that I would get up at 2:00 in the morning to watch a tennis game on TV. Absolutely.
Do you still do that now?
Absolutely.
Who's your favorite tennis player?
Roger Federer.
Oh,
yeah.
I don't blame you.
Yeah.
So, could you please run for president in 2028? I just want to start right there. If there is such a thing as reincarnation, what would you come back as? Who would you want to be?
Oh, I think I'm happy with who I am.
Oh, that is the perfect answer.
I think I'm just happy with who I am, and as I get older, I just, you know, thank God for the gifts that I did receive and the gifts that I was able to share. I'm just happy with who I am.
Oh, sister, I love that. What a beautiful answer. Well, with that, I don't think there's a better place to end than just the piece of knowing who you are. But what a gift for being who you are and for God putting you in the life. I'm going to get emotional, but we can only hope to be as rich as you in spirit, in faith, in influence, in leadership. You truly are a remarkable individual, and I feel so honored to have spent this time with you. And hopefully for folks listening, whether they went to Saints Simon and Jude or they've known someone, but also for people that just are listening and maybe want to be a little different today and maybe in the future, and finding that time for faith and God, because it does ground us. But most importantly, I think it connects us, and we're in a time of such great divide that we need that connection, and you just have to start. So again, thank you.
Well, thank you, Renee. Your family has been part of our family at Simon and Jude for so long, and it's just wonderful, and just continue this wonderful work that you're doing. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Renee.
Thank you.
God bless.
Thank you.